Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. I want to talk to you today about a concept, a word, something that maybe you're experiencing at the moment. It's something that we've all faced in our lives and it's just challenging, and that is uncertainty. I think as older women, we've had lots of time to practice dealing with situations that we have control over, to take a perspective on things and to grow and learn into those challenges. But it's the ones that have an uncertain definition that I think are the most difficult. Sometimes there's just more questions than there are answers. And a lot of people are quite comfortable with uncertainty. They find it challenging, they find it energizing. But I would say for most people, and certainly the women that I've spoken to in our 60 and Me community, uncertainty is the one thing that creates a fear that we are never going to be able to to do anything actively to respond to it. And that is true. I mean, we can't control the world around us, but we can control our responses. But I think especially as we get older, we start to ask ourselves, am I a good person? Did I do a good job? Am I a good partner? Have I been a good parent? Am I a good friend? What have I done in this world that has been useful? And what contribution have I made? And it's easy sometimes to reflect and to meditate on those questions and to come up with answers. But it's the times that you're facing an uncertainty about those things that, where you don't feel you have done a very good job, or there were circumstances around you that you couldn't control. Those are the times when it creates a sense of an emptiness and a depth of emotion. And I think there's a quote by Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist nun, and she said, the reason that you feel fear means that you're getting closer to the truth. And I've always remembered that quote, because when I've been in the middle of situations that were uncertain, I've felt fear, that I can't control it, but at the same time I know that it's getting me closer to the truth. And I think as older women, we also know that, when we don't have a certainty about something, that it can end in a negative outcome. It's just what is that phrase? Just because you're paranoid, it doesn't mean you're not being followed. It's like, sometimes we have an uncertainty about something, and then something does not go the way that we thought it would. Maybe there was an accident, or there's a diagnosis, or there's a decision in your life or your family. There's a divorce. There's something that you were uncertain about, and it didn't work out as you thought. And those, I think, are the challenging times, because we can be as strong as we want to be. We can be in control of everything that we possibly can. But sometimes, things just don't work out. There's an end of a relationship. There's a loss. There's a pandemic. There's so many things. But there are some ways you can deal with this. Now, Pearlie Ann Friedman is one of our bloggers, and I'm referring to her article on this because she talks about 6 ways to manage uncertainty in our lives. And, as I've said many times, there's no silver bullets. It's not like anything I'm going to say in the next 5 minutes is going to be, oh my goodness, I had never thought about that. They're all things that we've thought about, of course. So these are the 6 things that Pearlie Ann says you can just try. Things you can think about that will make you feel calmer when you've got an uncertain situation that you don't feel you're in control of. The first thing she says, and this is the hardest one of all, I think, is to take control of your feelings. Emotions can be so unpredictable and so irrational sometimes, and you've got to take care and take control of those emotions. The future could end up, as I mentioned earlier, in a negative way that you didn't expect. There's some things that we just cannot control, but they could be now be positive. And I think that that's the message here, is to take control of those feelings, whichever way they go, just put it in the middle and focus on the positive. That's number 1. The second is, this is a technique that I know I've used many times, which is ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Now, sometimes we can go pretty far with that, but what is the worst that can happen? And then prepare for that. Whatever those words are that answer that question, be prepared for it. Role play it. Figure out how you would respond if that thing happened. And if you can do that, I think that's, I mean, Pearlie Ann's got some really good ideas here. She's actually a woman that moved away from her country, and she lives in Thailand, I believe. And she's, I'm sure had lots of decisions where it's like, what's the worst that can happen? And then sometimes you laugh at yourself like, well, I won't get the job, or something that's easy. But then of course there's others that can be much more serious. The third thing is to control your stress with mindfulness, meditation, some practice. For you, it could be going out into nature. It could be something as simple as, just practicing meditation 2 times a day, or once a day, once a week, just doing something that is going to calm you down. Breathing for me has been such a stress reducer, and I think that statistically everyone's aware of the good it can do for your body. When you're stressed, when that cortisol level is streaming through your body, just breathing and meditating, calming yourself, praying, whatever it takes to reduce those stress levels. That's the important thing. And of course, reducing the stress removes the fear. And then when you're not panicked and just gripping the edges of the seat with fear, then you can start to solve the problems. You can start to take one step at a time towards the solution. So that leads into the next one, which is to focus on what you can do. Now, there's some things that we just can't do. I mean, there's been many examples in my life where I've just had to surrender to the fact that, there's other elements in play here that you just cannot predict, you cannot control, and just be comfortable with that. It gives you a confidence, I think, in life to be able to know that you can't do everything, you can't control everything, you can't solve every problem, especially with children, especially with family, because we really have a lot of anxiety sometimes about how things that they're going through, or things that are important to them that are just not as smooth as you'd like them to be for you. I mean, because you're feeling anxious for them, but that it's their journey, and that what you can do to help them is just to be there by their side, and to be to love them unconditionally, whatever they're going through. And I think that is just so important, is to know that you can do only so much with your friends, your family, your partners. They are on their own journeys too, and you've got to be loving to them, but you've got to also be loving to yourself. And I think that's super, super important. Pearlie Ann closes this article, and I encourage you to go read it. She's a really good writer, and I've actually interviewed her as well. Is how boring would life be if we all knew what was going to happen in the future? If we just knew how everything was going to turn out. I think it would be quite an interesting turn of events if you could actually predict all of that. Why not just embrace the unknown, control what you can, control your emotions, find ways to reduce the stress, and just live with uncertainty. It is the only thing that we can predict in this crazy world. And half the time that, the things turn out to be not so good, or in ways that we didn't want to happen, there's 10 times more times those worries have not happened and it's turned out just fine. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Whatever you're going through, it's going to be okay. Just give it time and give it unconditional love, and that includes yourself. So please, if you love this video, just take the video, and subscribe to the channel. Do what you can for yourself and for others, and know that managing uncertainty is an art. Let's get practicing, and know that we are here with you always by your side, and take very good care of yourselves. Stay safe and well. Lots of love.